Welcome back to Just Cop Radio on BJPenn.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton. Episode 156. We had a good line out of UFC 299. But first up, we're actually joined by AJ McKee to recap his big win over Clay Collard. Good chat with AJ about picking up that win and kind of the whole Bellator PFL thing. He is a bit confused about what comes next. He's not really sure if he's going to be in the tournament or if he's going to be fighting in Bellator. He just wants the biggest fights and getting after world titles. And he thinks that win over Clay Collard does that for him. We're then going to be joined by Kyler Phillips to preview his fight against Pedro Munoz. This is a big one for Kyler. Kyler's really looking forward to this. Pedro's been a mainstay in the UFC for years, a ranked guy coming off that loss to Marlon Vera. But Kyler thinks this is a big fight for him. He knows a winner of Pedro gets him into that top 10. He's also really looking forward to being on this card with his teammate and close friend Sean O'Malley. These two have grown up together in the UFC and just training in general. So Kyler's excited for this matchup and he thinks it's a good style match for as well. So, and then we close things out actually talking to Anthony Taylor. You're supposed to fight Gabe Silva at the end of the month. That fight fell through, so I caught up with Anthony about how that kind of didn't happen and what is kind of next with his career. Obviously, he's had a lot of success leaving Bellator in that boxing world under Misfits, which is his KSI's promotion. Really good chat with Anthony about kind of his future and what kind of comes next for him. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're joined by AJ McKee, who picked up a big win in Saudi Arabia. AJ, how's it going, man?
Oh man, another day in paradise out here in SoCal. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Like before we get into your fight, like I kind of want to talk about the last couple of months for you with the whole Bellator merger. Like, what was that kind of like from your end? There was rumors that Bellator might be for sale, then Bellator might fold, and then like, oh, PFL's gonna buy them. Like, what was that kind of like where you didn't really know what was gonna be up with the promotion?
Um, it was obviously a bit stressful, a bit concerning, not knowing what's going to happen, where I'm going to go, who I'm going to be fighting for. um, but once we got the contract for Clay Collard, we had a couple opponents previous to that, so um, when those names came up, we were all for it. They fell through, and then Clay Collard came up, and we pretty much knew like he's going to be game to fight. You know what I mean? So when that name came through, it was it was game time. You know, we didn't know really what was going on, and then they came to the table with Saudi, and I was like, bro, what better place? You know, and the card was just phenomenal. So um, coming full circle, man, it was a bit concerning at first, but obviously getting there, dealing with PFL, the entire environment, staff, and so forth. It was amazing, man. It's like another home. You know what I mean? So I don't really know what's gonna happen now. You know, so it's that same concern feeling of what's next is always it's always there. You know, I don't know if it's Bellator, I don't know if it's PFL, I don't know where I'm gonna be fighting next, but yeah, we're just pretty much chilling, you know, enjoy the victory. I'm back in the gym already and just getting ready for another one. Hopefully we get a call soon.
I heard that you were like a free agent or like close to it and you end up re-signing with Bellator. Like after all that happens, like was there like of like, oh shit, like maybe I should have gone to free agency, like because then you don't really know what was next, or like did that ever cross your mind, or just like, oh, maybe I made the wrong decision re-signing?
Um, no, you know, I don't think so. You know, I think it was the right decision. I was always keen with staying with Bellator. It was just a matter of coming up with the right plan. And you know, they met my needs, you know, so I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy to be in the position that I'm in and um yeah, it's a good position, you know. I'm just sitting back and trying to be the best that I can be day in, day out.
With it, like you've grown up in Bellator, like all your fights have been in Bellator. So like, I know they're still kind of doing a couple fights, but like they are kind of merged PFL. Like, was that sad to see for you of like it kind of going away when like you've kind of been like you grew up your whole fight career with them and you kind of became that face of the promotion?
Definitely, you know, and that's why I was very keen on staying. I started with them, so I'm gonna end with them. You know, whether it's my career ending, their franchise ending, whatever it may be. Um, I think the big key there is just staying loyal. You know, staying loyal and riding it out. You know, through thick and thin.
And then with Clay Collard, like you get that name, how excited were you? Like he's a guy that's never in a boring fight, comes to bring it. Like on paper, I think a lot of even though your fight like wasn't for any of the belts, I think a lot of people were most looking forward to your guys' fights. Like how excited were you when that was the name for this fight?
Um, I was excited. You know, I really wasn't too worried about who it was. It was just a matter of actually locking in that name. So when Clay Collard came to the platform, I was super excited, just with his credentials, his accolades. Um, Obviously, the 155-pound champ for PFL is retired. Clay Collard retired him.
Mhm.
So, with that being said, second best in line is Clay Collard. So when that name came to the table, I couldn't have been more happy and pleased. Um, with that, and styles make fights. So um, I feel stylistically it was a bad matchup for him. Obviously, yeah, I'm gonna go bang with him, see what the deal is, but why why do that? Why do that? I had a little bit of fun on the feet with him, and then just go back to doing what we do best, man. Get them in and out. I don't get paid to be in there for 3 5-minute rounds, so it's a matter of getting in there and getting out and not getting hurt and bringing the victory back home.
I know some fans were disappointed they didn't get to see it go longer, and like because just when Clay gets in these kind of wars, they are exciting fights. But like, so was that the game plan from the beginning of just get him down to the ground? Like you kind of knew you had a big advantage on the ground.
Yeah, I said it from the jump. I was like, I'm gonna go stand up with him for a little bit, see what he's about, and then take him down, choke him out when things don't go as planned. For me, when I hit him with a 1-2, I was like, okay, he's got a little chin, and then I hit him with a jab and an elbow, and he didn't even budge. So I was like, all right, this dude's got a chin. And when you got somebody with a chin like that, why stand up and play their game?
Mhm.
I'm not sure if I got a chin. I'm not trying to find out if I got a chin, and I'm trying to save my chin as long as possible. So, um, yeah, it was just a matter of just going and switching up and doing what I do best.
And then you get him down to the ground. You start getting that choke in. Like, did you think before you switched to the armbar? Like, do you think you were gonna have him with that triangle?
Potentially, yes. I thought I was gonna have the triangle, but his head started to slip out, so I had to switch to the arm bar. Just knowing Clay Collard, he's a tough opponent. I knew he wasn't gonna tap to the choke, so the arm bar was key. Break the arm. He'll tap from the pain of a broken arm.
And how key was that it was so early in the fight where he's not sweaty and like he can kind of hold the position a bit better?
Well, that was the key. Wrestle first round, see what he's capable of. Second round, obviously, we're gonna be a bit slippery and wet, and then it's stand up time. Test his feet out.
How happy are you with that win? Because like it is like one of your better performances you've had in your career.
Definitely, I was super happy with it. I hadn't finished anybody at 155, so I hadn't literally finished anybody since my championship match. So getting back to finishing people, and I forgot to backflip, man. I was a little butthurt. I was a little butthurt. My dad told me afterwards, he's like, you forgot to backflip, and I was like, no. So it was cool though. It's a great
Oh,
performance, great arena.
where would you rank that for you? Like I think what Pitbull still just because winning the title would probably be one, or like where do you think that is for your best
No,
performance?
actually fighting on the card with my father is one.
Yeah.
Pitbull winning the world championships number two. Um, I would say Saudi number three, and then Japan number four. I would say Saudi beats Japan just because of the people, man. They're so
Mhm.
loving out there. Just the culture, everybody's so loving, and it's a different environment, man. You gotta kind of feel it to know what I'm talking about. But it's different out there, man, and I like it. I can't wait to get back out there.
Did anyone in the higher ups of like PFL reach out to you since fight about kind of like the next steps, or is it still like Bellator matching you? Like how does that kind of work?
I'm not quite sure, I'm just kind of in the wind, waiting for the phone call and hoping I get back in there soon.
Do you think you could be part of that PFL tournament, or would you rather just stick with how Bellator is doing it and just do like the fights whenever they have cards?
It depends, with these one-off pay-per-view events, I could see myself potentially going back to 145 and reclaiming a world title. Like I said, there's Patricio Pitbull, who everybody wants a trilogy with. There's a new king in town, Pineda, with the PFL title. So that both those options are there, and then also, like you said, a 155-pound tournament is another option. So there's options. It's just a matter of sitting down at the table and kind of putting together a strategic plan of what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it.
You've done the tournament before in the Bellator, like you won the $1 million, kind of same thing with PFL. Like, so does that interest you as much that you've already done and won it, or do you kind of would you rather chase these like bigger fights and like kind of special fights then, rather than being locked into these like that tournament for the year?
Um, it just depends. There's really no incentive on the title because it's not a title with any names on it. It's just a
Yeah.
title. You know what I mean? So for me, it's fastest route to the title at this point this year. I miss being champion and I miss being the target. So I'm tired of hunting. I want to be hunted so I can go ahead and take some more people out. You know.
You said you could drop down to featherweight. Like I thought when he moved up, like it was gonna be lightweight for good. Like, do you think you still could make featherweight like pretty comfortably then?
Definitely, it's just a matter of dieting and doing things proper. I'm not a true 55er, but my skill set allows me to do things out of the ordinary, like fight at 155 and potentially 170 at the end of my career.
That pit bull fight, like, does that still bother you that like you haven't fought him again? Because that same fight that I know a lot of people thought you won, or like kind of the success of 55, or is like I imagine that is one you want back before your career is over.
Um, no, man, it's behind me. You know what I mean? That was the whole purpose of moving back up. If the trilogy wasn't there, then I'm not going to sit here and sweat myself and continue to beat my body up and cut to 145 pounds. If there's no title shot there again, then I'm going up to 155 pounds and it's on to new, bigger, better things. So that's where we're at. But like I said, there's more kings at 145 pounds. You got Pineda, who's a world champion. I've always been keying on showing that I'm the best of the best, no matter what organization, no matter where it is. So I'm always keen on doing cross promotions, things like fighting in Risen. I got to fight Satoshi in Japan. That was an honor at 155. Patricio fought the 45-pound champ. So with this potential buyout with PFL or whatever's going on, Pineda's there. The 55-pound champ is retired. So um, there's opportunities all over the place. And I don't know. It's not really up to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just the mercenary. You send me the contract, you send me the name, and I go do my job.
I know you guys used to train together, but just having Aaron on the card and kind of seeing what he's been doing, like how kind of special is that? Where you two were back on the card together and kind of and how dominant both of you guys' performances were.
It was awesome, man. We both spoke. We were speaking with each other the whole trip, and we just kept telling each other, "It's our time, bro. Like, let's go out there and do what we do best." And yeah, it was phenomenal, to catch up with him and share that moment with him again.
Is it kind of crazy? Like I remember talking to Aaron, and then I've talked like with you before through Bellator. Like when you guys were first coming up, and you guys are all talking about like, oh, just wait till they kind of finally get to the top. And now both of you guys are there. Like, is it crazy, or did you guys both kind of see this happening like a couple years ago?
We've both kind of seen it happening. He's a world class athlete. He's always been at the top of his game, and vice versa. So it's just a matter of time. He'll be a world champion. Um, yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Just final thing, like, what is the ideal year? Like, what's the kind of rest of the year look like for you in a perfect world? Like, to how many more
My
fights? Like,
perfect world, just get a belt and defend it.
yeah.
Get a belt and defend it. If it's at 45s, I'm fine with just having a belt, maybe defending it once. 55s, like you said, the weight cuts are easy, so I can do 4 fights in a year, easy, no problem.
Well, AJ, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Anytime, bro. Thanks for having me. Peace and blessings.
All right, we're jumping UFC bantamweight Kyler Phillips, who's got a big fight at UFC 299 in Miami. Kyler, how's it going, man?
What's up, brother?
Uh, Obviously a big one here. Like after you beat Barcelos, like did you think a ranked guy was going to be next to you and someone above you in the rankings?
Yeah, I thought I was going to get somebody in the rankings, so just prepared for that. And here I am now, just under 5 weeks, and I can't wait, dude.
And Pedro Munoz, like a guy that's been around for a long time. So how happy were you to get his name? Because he is like one of the more well-known guys in this division.
Yeah, it's just a step up in competition for me and for him, and I think this is just a part of my career where I really start to show myself in the world who I am and as a fighter.
What have you made of his past couple of fights? Like I know he's like 2-5 or something in the last seven, but like you look at the guys he's fought like Aljamain Cruz, Aldo Edgar, like he's fought all these like former champions and stuff. It's like what do you kind of made of his run where like he is losing these fights, but he's fighting like the very best of the best.
He's dangerous. He's dangerous. Um, he's smart. He has a lot of IQ for the game, and he knows how to kind of knows how to work the whole MMA thing as far as training and stuff. So just got to watch out for those areas and attack his weaknesses. And I think, yeah, he's starting to get over little hill, and a lot of the people he's fought lately, it's been high level, but I'm just on a different level for sure.
How much do you talk to Sean about what he saw in there? Obviously, their fight ended with the no contest, but like, do you talk to him about kind of what he saw, or like what he thinks you can excel on against Pedro?
A little bit, yeah, of course. They went to fight and they fought the same guy, him and Tanquino. So it's cool to have those guys around and to support me. So yeah, just some more minds and bodies and whole. But my style is different,
Yeah.
so like yeah, it's cool. So yeah.
And what's it like for you to be on this card? Like Sean's first title defense. Like I know you guys have kind of grown up together in this sport. So like to be on the same card as him, defending the title for the first time, but then like how stacked this kind of card is with all the names. Like what's it like for you to be a part of this?
Yeah, it's sick, dude. UFC 299, crazy, bro. I'm super stoked. Sugar as well, and we also got a couple other a bunch of really good fights. And then Miami, my grandpa lives in he kind of lives by Orlando in Satellite Beach, so I can visit him and hopefully he can come to my fight. That would be really awesome because he's getting older.
What has the vibe in the gym like been for you guys, like especially with the bantamweights? Like Mario picked up that big upset win in January. Like you have you and Sean defending his belt for the first time on this card. Like you have Marcus McGee, who every time I talk to you guys before he's in the UFC, you guys are all mentioning that this is kind of that next guy coming, and like he's having all that success. Like what is kind of the vibe like in the gym for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's so sick, dude. Even yesterday, freaking last week, all the guys in there, just you hang around with. It's the energy in there. But at the lab, man, Crouch and everybody is just all just helping each other and making themselves better, making everybody better, pushing each other, also technically and physically and mentally, and just being around that it's you could tell when you get out of the gym after training and you get goosebumps and like
Hmm.
man, you're on the right track, you are like living the life you want to live. That's that feeling you get from training with those guys and stuff, and it's the real fucking deal. um Fuck, man, it's a blessing.
And how much confidence does that give you going into this fight? Like seeing Marcus and Mario pick up these big wins, seeing all the success like Sean has had, where like these are guys you're training with every day, and kind of seeing that they're going out there and getting these big ones. Like, does that give you confidence going into this one, just seeing kind of the success of everyone?
Yeah, you see all the like you see different layers of it. You see the work that they put in. You see how long that these guys, because everybody's on a different, not a different path, but everybody, hey, they all come up from different ways, and they're maybe they had different types of struggles and stuff, or they have to do things at different times. So you get to see all these different fighters grow and hit a point at different times, and you get to see them when they put in the hard works, when things don't go their way, and they handle it the right way. And man, it's cool to just see so many different people there, like all pushing through and all finding a way for themselves, and then just being around it, and then it just makes you feel good, and then the whole team around you, you're like, hey, you know what, I can do that too. And everybody, and you see Jared Cannonier, and you see like getting hyped up, and Benson's in there saying stuff, and dude, it's like, man, I'd rather be here than anywhere. And I can't wait to fight, dude. I'm so
Mhm.
stoked. I can't wait.
With this one with Pedro, like, do you imagine it primarily plays out on the feet here?
Yes, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different things there, but he might try to shoot a couple times or try to kick me or whatever, but I think I'm too fast for him. I also think, I just move differently. I got a different process of MMA in general. He's not used to that.
That is something I want to bring up was your speed and your reach. Like you're gonna have, I think it's like a 7-inch reach advantage on him, and then just you are one of the faster guys. Like how important and beneficial do you think that'll be in this fight?
Yeah, another thing with me though is like I can play in pretty much every area, so I'm comfortable there. And if I want to serve something up, I'm gonna serve it my way, the Matrix way, and I don't just if I do it my way, people can't catch up. And sooner or later, one notch, two notch, three notches, I start to just gain momentum, and then you're in that area where it's like, okay, you got to do something big to win.
How do you kind of see this one playing out? Just because Pedro is super durable, like never been finished in his career. So like, how do you kind of see playing out? Because he's a guy that can take a lot of damage and keep always kind of coming forward.
Yeah, I see it a lot of different ways. He is a very skilled fighter, and he knows how to play in different ranges as well. He can bang. He could pull you into a slugfest, which he's good at, and he can also throw, you know, some good kicks and move around in a way where he can do that at the highest level with the best guys in the world. So it just depends on what he's trying to serve up and what I'm already on, and how he's gonna try to adapt. And I think I'm just gonna be ahead there.
And then in your career, like both your losses and then the loss on the tough were like these majority or split decisions. Like, how have you learned from that? Or like just little things to kind of win the judges over when you are in those like close fights, or is it still like you just really never know with judges?
Well, also those are younger versions of myself that are, not as mature, not as driven or whatever. Just certain different areas of my life, and I'm in a completely different time now where I know exactly what I want, and I'm just training the ways. And yeah, but definitely never let it in the judge's hands. And also, when you do get, close decisions, you can still hold on to those feelings and hold on to those emotions. And after you take a loss, and that's good, something, a drive to have, and there's no such thing as like actually losing until you are done with the game. And so, like, that's what keeps you hungry.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm glad I had those things.
Well, what do you think a win here does for you? Like, obviously, Pedro is, I think he's ranked, like, yeah, he's ranked 12th, but like, you do have that win over Song, who's like tops, I think he's 7 or 6 right now. So, like, you've beaten a guy up there, but like, what do you think a win over Pedro does for you in this division?
I think all these guys, man, we're just humans and just another dude in the way. My goals and dreams, and they're trying to push me down, but it's my path, so I got to get them out of the way. Just one door at a time, and yeah.
With the bantamweight division, like, obviously, Sean is the champ, then you have like Mario coming up. Like, have you guys ever talked about that scenario of like what happened?
Yeah, we always joke around about that stuff. We trained with each other for years, dude. There's a picture of me, Mario, and Sean, like 10 years ago. I was like 18 or 19. Sean, same thing, and Mario, dude, we freaking love each other. Um, Whatever happens, we just train and love each other and fight each other. I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen, but we just joke around about it.
What is kind of the goal then for you this year? Like a win here gets you in the rankings and kind of sets you up to have a pretty big year where you can start making a move up those rankings.
Yeah, just one thing at a time, but also keep my eye on the target, which is just this dude in front of me, and my heart set on the real goal, which is a gold, and just enjoy the moment, enjoy the process, love every day, single day, be present, and yeah, I'm here, man. 28, can't wait. I'm gonna be the champ.
Well, Kyler, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this again.
Yeah, appreciate you, Cole.
Yeah.
Bye, man.
All right, we're joined by Anthony Taylor, who was supposed to be boxing Anderson Silva's kid at the end of the month, but not happening anymore. Anthony, how's it going, man?
Man, it feels good, man, to be here. I'm blessed. I'm able to train another day, live another day, all thanks to God and to Himself. But overall, I feel great.
Uh, you were matched up, defending your belt against Gabriel Silva. Like when you got the name, like Anderson Silva's kid, as a guy that was in MMA, like how excited were you when that was the original opponent?
I was excited. I was like, you know what? I can build a storyline because we all know how legendary his father is. Me building the storyline of beating Gabriel could possibly lead me to fighting Anderson himself, since Jake Paul was able to fight Anderson Silva. So I think that storyline would have been really good. I beat his son. I call out his dad. His dad tries to avenge his son's loss.
And then what kind of happened with the negotiations for the fight not to be happening now?
So during this time, for about a week and a half, I've been going back and forth, you know, with Misfits and somebody from Misfits and somebody from Gabriel camp. They pretty much didn't want me fighting at 175, knowing that I'm gonna go up weight. So what they wanted to put was a rehydration clause into a championship fight, and I'm the champion. The challenger is telling the champion, I don't want to fight you unless a rehydration clause. So he tried to strong arm me to have me weight drain myself just so he can feel comfortable. And I said, no, I'm not fighting you with a hydration clause. I'm going to come in at this certain weight, take it, or leave it. He said, I'll leave it. So that's why the fight's not going on.
How disappointing is that for you? Because like you are the champion. You think if he wants the belt, like kind of furthering his boxing career, like he would really. And a rehydration clause, like how much more weight are you really gonna put on for what they were asking to? Like that wouldn't be a huge difference, especially in boxing. I feel like in MMA it's a much bigger difference than wrestling, but like boxing, I don't really think it's a huge
Right.
difference.
Well, the whole thing was they wanted me to weigh in at like 175, but I can't go higher than 180. I'm like, bro, I'm cutting down 20 pounds just to make weight. You're already on weight, and you're telling the champion that he can't go over 180. So, one of the guys from Misfits was like, you know what? We had enough with you guys. You guys are being just being difficult. And he's done this before, not just me, but other fighters before in Misfits.
And I know you were saying on Twitter that you didn't really think he was promoting the fight. So did you kind of have a feeling that he might have pulled out before this then?
It was strange, Cole, because I was looking at Twitter, looking at his, Instagram to see how the engagement goes. He ain't once post on Twitter or Instagram, not even a fight poster. He hasn't even said nothing. And it was kind of odd. I wasn't able to get a back and forth conversation with him as far as, talking crap, but I just had a feeling he was going to do something. I just had a bad feeling in the air that I wasn't going to probably fight because we were supposed to fight in February in Brazil. Imagine if we were supposed to be fighting this week in Brazil. He would probably put the same stunt last minute, knowing that we're in Brazil and you're trying to strong arm me.
So what is kind of next to you then? Like, are you hoping to stay on this card or like what?
I mean, look, it's not my call. To be honest, I don't want to be undercarding under that dude named Most Wanted. I'm good. I'd rather just hop on another card, you know, just because, but if Mams wants me to fight on that card, I'm down. Let's do it, But I haven't heard from Misfits people yet or Mams Taylor himself, so I just got to wait and find out.
Is there anyone you have your eye on for a potential next fight for you?
Oh, yeah. I would love to fight Slim, Joe Fournier, Tyron Woodley. Those big fights. Those 3 big fights are something definitely on my mind in the horizon. I'm always up for a good scrap, Cole. You know me, baby. Always up to fight.
Which one? Because to me, I kind of think that Slim fight would be the most likely to happen. Like, do you kind of agree that would be the?
Yeah, I mean, but it depends if he's ducking. A lot of these guys, they tend to like make excuses. Oh, I don't want to fight. But also, we got April card coming up. I heard, but it's Ramadan, a month. So I'm not sure I'll be able to fight him. But hopefully, I can fight a Joe Fournier. I would love to fight Joe Fournier.
And your career, like, it's pretty crazy what you've done with Misfits. Like, you went from just kind of training with Jake Paul, and I remember talking to you about that. You were saying, like, man, you made more money just training with him than you did in your whole Bellator career. And then now you're the champion of Misfits, like a big promotion. You're getting these big fights. So is it pretty surreal how these last, like, 3-4 years have been like for you?
Man, it's crazy because it's like, this could have happened to anybody in the world, millions of people out there, but it just happened to be me, and I'm just grateful that I worked hard, during this process. I was able to bust my butt off and definitely, reap the fruits of my benefits, of all this. Training hard to make this look easy has definitely paid off for me. And I'm just grateful, man, because like I said, it could have been anybody in the world Jake Paul chose to spar with me. He chose to choose me. And, I just happened to be at the right time, right place, right moment. And look, man, I manifested this moment. If you look at my Twitter, I called out Tommy Fury 2021, months before I even met Jake Paul or knew I was going to fight Tommy Fury. manifest it, but I put it forth by training hard.
And then with like Misfits too, like how did that all start with you? Because like obviously it is massive in the YouTuber world, and then like you don't really see a whole lot of pro fighters go that way. Like you see them kind of go on these other like more well-known boxes. Like what kind of intrigued you to go with Misfits then?
Well, what got me intrigued was during the time I was getting a little scuffle with Mams Taylor. Like we was going back and forth on Twitter, and this is before like Misfits even came out, right? And then all of a sudden, I was like, "Hey, let me find out Misfits," you know. And then Mams gave me the chance and the opportunity, and I just took it and ran with it. You know, I'm a company man. I'm loyal. I'm a Misfits guy. I'm gonna stay true to Misfits. Yeah, KSI is my boss, you can say, but still, the day is we still want to fight. We're competitive. You know, yeah.
Something I did want to ask you about is you're supposed to fight Paul Daly on that Game Bread card. Like what kind of happened with that one to fall out?
So crazy one on that one, right? I got offered to fight Paul Daly. You know, it was a good enough money. It was like, damn, okay, that's some good money to fight somebody. Paul Daly, cool, let's get it, right? But Misfits gave me a deal I could not refuse, Cole. They gave me a multi-fight deal I couldn't refuse. I said, yeah, bro, I'm going with the long-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, long-term.
And with this, like, do you just think with how much money you're making and like how much success you have in Misfits, like, do you think your MMA career is done, or do you think you will take another MMA fight?
I mean, who knows? Who knows? You know, I've been, I've been in talk with somebody from PFL who works logistics there. I got a couple buddies over there at PFL. You know, my boy AJ McKee,
Mhm.
my teammate, still to this day, killing it. Shout out to AJ McKee in his first round submission against Clay Clotter because Antonio's on my side, man. AJ's on my side, and them the ones who's helping me prepare for every fight. And, you know, AJ's killing it, and I just feel like AJ needs more recognition when
Mhm.
it comes to PFL, Bellator, because a lot of people still calling him a prospect, and he ain't no prospect. He's the real deal, Cole. And people need to realize that if you can't get on the program, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to ask about the program because he is the program, and he's programming all of mixed martial arts and around the world as we speak.
And with that, I know you fought in Bellator. Like, what you kind of make of that whole merger and Bellator kind of going away?
I mean, it sucks that PFL can't have, their own thing and Bellator can't have their own thing because you obviously see what organization had better fighters, who had homegrown fighters. You know, Bellator, I started off with Bellator. It was a development process. Bellator was able to treat me like family. It was more like a family-oriented business where they talk with you, they bring you up, mentor you, and you go on and do the next big thing. You know, if you fight for Bellator and you leave, you go to PFL, hey, congratulations. If you fight for Bellator and you leave and you go to the UFC, hey, congratulations. You know, you did it yourself. So, you know, we all know Bellator has better fighters than PFL. Majority of all PFL fighters are from Bellator, regardless. When you had Bubba Jenkins, when you had Rory McDonald, when you have other fighters like Brett Cooper and those guys, old school guys, from Bellator, those majority of PFL guys are all Bellator, ex-Bellator fighters, regardless if you like it or not.
And for you, like, I know you're focused like on boxing, but I kind of thought it was bad for the fighters as well because it's just one less spot in free agency now with Bellator kind of going away. Like, do you think it is bad for the sport and whole? Like, where just like if a UFC guy gets cut or a PFL guy gets cut, like, there's not really a whole lot of options for them.
I mean, let's look at the exception. We don't know what's really going on in people's contract. When we looked at Gegard Mousasi, the guy was on a tear in the UFC. We all agree he deserved a title shot, and they didn't give it to him. He wanted more money. They said no, and he walked. A lot of guys, just because they get cut from the UFC, it's not because they was on a losing streak. A lot of these guys walked because they got more money at another organization. It's just like basketball and football. hey, I might not resign because I can get an extra $30 million going to this team right here. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that they're going from UFC to PFL or UFC to Bellator. It's just people got family to feed. I mean, perfect example. Look at Neil Magny. The guy's been fighting for almost 20 years, I guess. Gatekeeper, and he's still probably making 70 and 70 or 100 and 100. It's like, bro, you've been with the UFC for over 10 years and you haven't cracked over 200,000 yet? Come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm like there's guys making that already in their second fight with Misfits or with PFL or Bellator.
Mhm.
You know, so a lot of these guys, they're going to leave because they're going to do what's better for their family. Simple as that. Not everybody is Conor McGregor.
Just two more things. Like, you've obviously fought Tommy, you've trained with Jake, you're familiar with KSI. Like, kind of seems like Jake KSI is gonna happen here. Like, how would you kind of see that one playing out?
I mean, look, man, if it happens, it happens. But when you look at who had the hardest strength schedule, Jake Paul had a harder strength schedule. I don't really see a lot of guys making their boxing debut, pro debut against former UFC champions. You know, yeah, Jake beat Ben Askren, he beat Nate and all those guys, but a lot of those guys, man, are a lot tougher than who KSI fought. I guarantee you, any of those guys KSI fought ain't stepping in that cage with Nate Diaz. We'll say that, you know. But I'm gonna lean on Jake on this one, just because he's proven to have a harder schedule.
Do you think Jake gets some like unfair like hate and criticism? Like, he took Tommy Fury to a split decision. I think Tommy's like half decent, but like still to fight a guy like that and like his like what fifth, sixth fight it was or something.
I mean, Cole, think about it. It's boxing, bro. If this was MMA, it'd be the other way around. You know, boxing, anybody can be like, well, I'm 30 and 0. Well, you ain't fought nobody. In MMA, you 30 and 0 in MMA. It ain't no, you ain't fought anybody. You deserve to be 30 and 0 for a reason. You know, is how many times it's not like you see a guy who's 2 and 0 fighting a guy who's 16 and 2 in Bellator or UFC. It's like, come on, bro, it's not going to happen. But we're talking about boxing. You know, a lot of these guys going into the 8th fight, like Canelo, Gervonta, and all these other guys, they ain't fought nobody who were like champions in different sports. You know, so a lot of these guys do hate on Jake Paul because it is boxing and there is politics to it. Because if Jake Paul wasn't this big name that he is now, people wouldn't care if he was fighting Nate Diaz. People wouldn't care if he was making this debut against certain fighters. It's all about politics.
Just final thing, back to you. Like, what's this idle year look like for you, boxing wise? Like, what's the kind of how many fights? Like, what's the perfect year look like for you?
Man, I'm 5 fights this year and probably 2 MMA fights, and we good.
Yeah,
We good. We good. 5 fights, 2 MMAs. 5 boxing, 2 MMAs.
Well, Anthony, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Absolutely, Cole.